So, hey everyone, my name is Meir Cohen and I'm from Palo Alto Networks. Palo Alto Networks is the largest cybersecurity company. We are serving today tens of thousands of customers with our network security products. And many of our customers are in the journey of going to private mobile networks, private 4G, private 5G networks. And our goal in Palo Alto Networks is to allow them to apply the very same security compliance and policy that they have in their IT network, also in the private 5G network. Whenever we are going to a private 5G network, this is typically going to be in the operational part of the enterprise, which is probably the most sensitive part of the enterprise. Especially in this area of the network, we would like to apply a zero trust, even more strict than we are doing in the IT network. And it means that we want in any situation to identify which devices, users, which applications they use, which content they use in every stage of the network. Also, we see that in private mobile networks, sometimes customers are using third parties, which are also being hosted on the very same network. So the whole topic of segmentation, very strong segmentation in the network is coming into play. So whenever we are talking about the zero trust in a private 5G network, we're pretty much talking about the same zero trust you will apply in your IT environment. The difference here is whenever we work in a private 5G networks, we are using different identifiers to identify the users and the devices, and that's come into play for our zero trust networks. So whenever we are building a private mobile networks, security is one of the important topics that we need to take under consideration. Having the network up and running, that's one thing, but having the network also running securely, it's another thing. And we always need to remember that our most valuable data is running on this network. Our OT data is running on the network. And hence, we would like to include security from day one. We need to follow the security rules of the company, pretty much the same security rules you would use in IT, you will use also in your OT environment. Whenever you're designing the network, security needs to be included from the very early days. And the reason here is that you don't want to have a kind of an up and running network and then go back and try to add security.
There's a lot of hype today around artificial intelligence. ChatGPT hit the scene in late 2022, 2023, and a lot of attention has been turned to how do we secure these AI applications? How do we ensure that bad actors who are using artificial intelligence to perhaps create new malware, et cetera, can have that activity blocked? And so despite the fact that AI is now emerged onto the scene recently, Palo Alto Networks has been using artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, way before anyone had heard of ChatGPT. We've been using it for quite a long time to help make sure that our security outcomes are as effective as possible. So if you look at what you need to make artificial intelligence effective, one of the most important things that you need is a very large data set of good samples. And because Palo Alto Networks has thousands and thousands of sensors across the entire world that are constantly seeing data and receiving data, we can use that to train our models that we use to make sure that we have a very effective capabilities to block new malware, old malware, whatever it may be. So this is really crucial. And I would hate to be a small startup company coming into the security space right now without a large data set like that, trying to create an effective, machine learning model or artificial intelligence kind of capable solution without that good data. It'd be very, very tricky. And so we have that advantage. We use that advantage. And so we certainly use that as well in the 5G space, so that when there is polymorphic malware, for example, this is malware that's changing all the time. We have these tools and capabilities so that we can detect that malware, even though it's very, very challenging to detect that. You can't secure what you can't see. And so visibility is absolutely fundamental to effective security. So what do we mean by that? It's great to say visibility, but at the end of the day, what does that really mean? And so at Palo Alto Networks, we have several technologies that we use to ensure as much visibility as possible so that we can remove the implicit trust, which is the enemy of zero trust. So let me give a few examples. So when it comes to the traffic on the network, Palo Alto Networks offers App ID, which is able to look at all the different applications and the protocols, regardless of which port they're running on. We're doing this through heuristics and layer 7 inspection, and let the enterprise, let the organization know exactly what's on their network, as well as the risk for those different applications. In addition to that, if there's a user behind that traffic, we provide the ability to understand who the user is. Should a marketing person, for instance, have access to source code, things like that, right? So that we can create appropriate security postures based on the users that are on the network. We also provide visibility into the device specifics. So you may have a PLC on the network. Well, what kind of PLC is it? What's the model? What's the make? What's maybe even the OS version? All these are really important for creating a effective security posture. So we have the ability to provide all sorts of information, metadata, if you will, on the different devices and their risk and their behavior on the network. We can even go as deep as into the specific identifiers of the mobile devices on the network. And so this is very important in a private 4G or 5G environment where you have mobile devices and they have identifiers such as the International Mobile Equipment ID, the IMEI, or the International Mobile Subscriber ID, the EMSI. Knowing those identifiers also is very important so that if there is some sort of malicious activity, you can respond very quickly for that specific device without having to use an IP address and do some sort of lookup and understand what was infected. You'll know right away what was infected and the impact of that, and you can remediate much quicker without having to take additional steps. So those layers of visibility across protocols, across the device characteristics, the users, if they're there, are critical for effective security.
We are seeing that the customers who apply a zero trust in their network, they feel more comfortable to go and take the network to the next level to apply AI use cases. They have the capability to identify infected or compromised device in real time, and they are able to accommodate more use cases on the network. At the end, as an industry, what we want is the customer to add more use cases. And the customer will add more use cases only whenever they have the ability to control and feel more comfortable in the network that their most sensitive data is secured. So we are very proud in our private 5G ecosystem. Our goal is to expand our ecosystem with all the key partners in the industry. At the end, if we think about it, the customer is buying a use case. They are not buying a network. They're not buying a specific firewall. They're not buying a specific element. They are buying a use case, and they expect to have a kind of an outcome. And for us as vendors, the best thing that we can do for them is we can do all the kind of a pre-integration, test our products together, and give them a solution which is ready to carry their use cases and their operational traffic. So we are very proud in our private 5G ecosystem, and we really appreciate all the partners who work together with us in this very important mission.
There are numerous components that are involved in that ecosystem. You have the AI application itself. You have the models and the LLMs that are being leveraged by the AI application. You have large data sets, so on and so forth. And so it's extremely important that organizations address the security concerns for all these different components of the AI ecosystem. Taking legacy solutions and trying to use those is probably not going to provide the outcome that organizations want. For instance, if you are doing malware scanning on a model, that's really not an effective way to ensure that you understand the risk for that model. So Palo Alto Networks, we today offer numerous capabilities across those three different areas and more so that we can go to organizations with solutions today. Let me give you a few examples of what I mean by that. So for instance, on the model front, as I just mentioned, today we scan millions of models every day, and we're able to look across over 25 different threat characteristics for those models, 20 different model types, and provide insight into the different risks that are associated with that model. There's always data kind of flowing to and from models as well, right? So we also want to make sure that data is secure. So a popular threat vector that you'll hear a lot about is prompt injection and model poisoning. So we'll look for data going into that model and back from that model just as importantly, and ensure that there's no threats there. So for instance, there's no data leakage. Perhaps someone's interfacing with a model and they're sharing company secrets or something very sensitive towards that model that may not be a desired or allowed data flow. Conversely, the model may have gone and read some documents with malicious content in it and may be responding back with that malicious content unknowingly to the user, and that needs to be detected and stopped as well. So there are a lot of different threat vectors here that need to be addressed. And Palo Alto Networks is currently using our next-gen firewall and other tools, coming to market with stuff that allows organizations to take what they probably already have now or are creating now, and day one, go and provide effective security for those different AI applications.
The private 5G is just a kind of a first piece of the first part of the journey towards a real industry automation. We are starting by replacing the underlying network, which is giving the customers a more reliable network to go and run automation inside the factories and the ports and others. And the next phase is going to be how do we actually apply the AI in this space? And how do we use the strengths of the private 5G network to ensure that the AI is working properly, that we are able to identify devices, we are able to identify the integrity of the devices and trust whoever is sending us this data to the AI models. And then whenever the AI is actually triggering an action, we trust that this action was triggered as it's supposed to be and not someone took control of a device or anything like this. So definitely, I do see that private 5G is the first step in a full industry automation, which will heavily include the AI at the edge, the core, cloud, and other places.
A recent study that was done that talked about how close to 80% of enterprises and organizations are embracing AI. But in that same study, only less than 10%, I think it was 6%, felt like they had the appropriate security guardrails in place. So in terms of what's next, I think what's going to happen is organizations are going to increasingly say, we want to use these AI applications and these tools, but we need to do it in a way that's secure. And so we're going to definitely see that in the private space, the private 5G space, the private LTE space, where mission critical networks are seeing the benefits of using these AI applications, but realizing it's extremely important that as they embrace those AI applications, that they do it in a secure way. And so it'll be exciting to kind of partner with those organizations and help them go and do very exciting things on the AI front, but do it in a way that they know it's secure.